The champagne bubbles tickled my nose as I stood in the first-class galley, arranging crystal flutes on a silver tray. Outside the window, Chicago's lights glittered like scattered diamonds against the black velvet sky. I'd been a flight attendant for 15 years. 15 years of fake smiles, recycled air, and passengers who treated me like furniture. I thought I'd seen every type of traveler, the demanding businessman, the nervous flyer, the drunk who thought he was charming. But I'd never seen anyone like him. He boarded last, moving through first class like a predator entering claimed territory. Dark suit that probably cost more than my car, hair the color of midnight with silver threaded through it, and eyes, God, those eyes, dark as espresso, sharp as broken glass. Every instinct I had screamed danger. He took seat 2A without looking at his ticket, a man who always knew where he belonged. I noticed the other first-class passengers shifting uncomfortably, suddenly very interested in their phones or the safety card. They felt it too, that presence, that weight. I smoothed my navy skirt, checked my reflection in the galley mirror, and reminded myself I was a professional, just another passenger, just another shift. I was so wrong. "Good evening, sir. May I offer you champagne before takeoff?" My voice came out steady. Good. He didn't need to know my hands were shaking. He looked up from his phone and I forgot how to breathe. Up close, he was devastating. Sharp cheekbones, strong jaw shadowed with stubble, and a small scar cutting through his left eyebrow that somehow made him more attractive instead of less. "Coffee, black, no sugar." His voice was accented, Italian maybe, smooth as aged whiskey. "Of course, right away." I turned to go, grateful for the excuse to escape those eyes. "Wait." I froze. Something about the command in that single word made my spine straighten automatically. "Yes, sir?" "What's your name?" It was a simple question. Passengers asked it all the time, but the way he asked it, like he was filing the information away for later use, made it feel dangerous. "Sarah Mitchell, sir." Sarah. He said it slowly, tasting each syllable. My name had never sounded like that before, like a secret, like a promise. "I'm Marco." No last name. Men like him didn't need last names. "It's nice to meet you, Mr. Marco." Just Marco. He held my gaze for a moment too long, then returned to his phone, dismissing me. I retreated to the galley, my heart hammering against my ribs for reasons I didn't want to examine. The flight to Rome was supposed to be 11 hours. 11 hours of routine service, paperwork, and trying not to think about the stack of bills waiting in my Chicago apartment. My ex-husband's medical debt that somehow became mine, the credit cards I'd maxed out trying to stay afloat. I made Marco's coffee with hands that had finally stopped shaking. When I returned to his seat, he was staring out the window at the tarmac, his expression unreadable. "Your coffee, sir, Marco." He took it without looking at me. "Thank you, Sarah." The way he said my name again sent shivers down my spine. I was being ridiculous. He was just a passenger, a beautiful, dangerous, obviously wealthy passenger, but still just a passenger. I turned to go. "I need to speak with you, privately." My stomach dropped. "I'm sorry, but I'm not supposed to." "It's important." Something in his voice made me look at him again, really look. Beneath the commanding presence, I saw something else. Tension. Worry, maybe. "The galley," I heard myself say. "In 10 minutes, after we're in the air." He nodded once, a sharp dip of his chin. What was I doing? Rule number 1, never agree to meet passengers alone. But something about Marco made me break rules I'd followed for 15 years. 10 minutes later, I found myself in the galley, the curtain drawn for privacy. Marco stood in the narrow space, making it seem even smaller with his presence. "What's this about?" I asked him, keeping my voice low. He studied me for a long moment, as if deciding something. I need your help. With what? I need you to pretend to be my wife. The words hung in the air between us so absurd, I almost laughed. I'm sorry, what? For the duration of this flight and the week in Rome, I need you to act as my wife. You'll be paid $50,000. $50,000? That number hit me like a physical blow. That was enough to pay off the debt. Enough to start over. This is insane. Why would you? My grandmother is dying. His voice dropped, and for the first time I heard a real emotion there. Pain. She's in a hospice in Rome. She has weeks, maybe days. Her dying wish is to see me settled, married, happy. So lie to her. I've tried. She demands to meet my wife. She's arranged a family dinner. If I arrive alone again, she'll know I'm lying. It will break her heart. He stepped closer, too close. I could smell his cologne now, sandalwood and something spicy. I need someone she'll believe, someone authentic. Not one of the women in my world who would do it for attention or leverage. And you think I'm authentic? I think you're desperate. I've researched you, Sarah Mitchell. Age 42, divorced 3 years ago, currently $68,000 in debt from your ex-husband's gambling problem. You work overtime whenever you can get it. Your credit score is... Stop. My voice came out sharper than I intended. How dare you invade my privacy like that? I am a careful man. I needed to know if you were right for this arrangement. And you are. You need money. I need a wife. It's a business transaction. It's lying to a dying woman. Marco's jaw tightened. My grandmother is 93 years old. She survived fascism, poverty, and burying 2 of her children. All she wants before she dies is to know I won't be alone. Is giving her that peace really so terrible? Put that way, it sounded almost noble. What would I have to do? Attend the family dinner, visit her in hospice with me, stay in my home in Rome for appearances, learn enough about me to be convincing as my wife. And the $50,000? Half transferred to your accounts before we land, the other half when you return to Chicago in 1 week. $25,000 before we even arrived in Rome. Enough to stop the collection calls. Enough to breathe again. Nothing physical is required, he added, as if reading my mind. Separate bedrooms, you're free to leave whenever you want, but if you leave before the week is up, you forfeit the second payment. I should have said no, should have told him to find someone else, but the weight of those bills, the shame of dodging calls, the exhaustion of working double shifts, it all pressed down on me. I have conditions. His eyebrows rose slightly. Clearly he wasn't used to being negotiated with. I want $20,000 now, $30,000 when it's done. And I want it in writing, a contract. Agreed. And I want to know why you can't just tell your grandmother the truth that you're not married and that's okay. Marco's expression hardened. In my family, nothing is ever that simple. My grandmother comes from the old world, old values, and He stopped himself, but I heard what he didn't say. Whatever Marco's family was, whatever he was, marriage meant something different to them, something more complicated than love. Do we have a deal, Sarah? I looked at his extended hand. Shaking it would change everything. I shook it. His grip was warm, firm, and sent electricity racing up my arm. Good. We'll go over the details during the flight. You'll need to know things about me, how we met, how long we've been together. My grandmother will ask questions. How long do I have to memorize all of this? 10 hours. That's not enough time to... It will have to be. He pulled out his phone and typed something. There, $20,000 have been transferred to your account. You'll see it by the time we land. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from my bank. Deposit, $20,000. I stared at the screen, unable to process it. $20,000, just like that. You need to wear these. Marco produced a small black velvet box from his jacket pocket. Inside was a ring, a platinum band with a diamond so large it looked fake. Next to it, a matching wedding band. For authenticity, he explained. My hands trembled as I picked up the engagement ring. It was heavy, real, the kind of ring that cost more than most people made in a year. Try it on. I slid it on my finger. It fit perfectly. How did you know my size? I'm thorough. Of course he was. This man probably knew everything about me. My social security number, my blood type, my fears. The thought should have terrified me more than it did. There's one more thing. Marco pulled out another box. Inside was a necklace, a delicate platinum chain with a pendant shaped like an ornate M. This doesn't come off, ever. Something in his tone made me look up sharply. Why? It contains a tracker. As long as you wear it, I know where you are. A tracker? That's non-negotiable. You'll be staying in my home, meeting my family, entering my world. I need to know you're safe at all times, and that you don't run off with $20,000 of my money. His eyes held mine, challenging me to refuse. But I'd already taken the money, already agreed. Fine. He moved behind me and I lifted my hair. His fingers brushed the nape of my neck as he clasped the necklace. The contact sent shivers cascading down my spine. Perfect. His breath was warm against my ear. I touched the pendant, feeling its weight against my collarbone. A gilded leash. Now, Marco said, moving back to give me space, let's begin your education. We've been married for 2 years. We met when you worked a private flight for my company. What company? Valentino International, import-export. Import-export, the vaguest business description possible. My journalist instincts, left over from my abandoned college major, started whispering questions I probably shouldn't ask. What do you import? Luxury goods, wine, olive oil, and leather, family businesses from Italy that want American distribution. It sounded legitimate, but something about the way he said it made me doubt every word. Continue. I pulled myself back to the present. We had a small wedding in Lake Como, just family. You preferred something intimate rather than the large production my family wanted. That sounds like something I'd want. I know. That's why I chose it. Of course he did. Marco seemed to choose everything carefully, from his words to his lies. My grandmother's name is Lucia Valentino. She'll call you Cara or Piccola, terms of endearment. She speaks English but prefers Italian. If she says something you don't understand, look at me. I'll translate. What if I mess up? Say something wrong. You won't. You're intelligent and adaptable. That's why I chose you. The confidence in his voice was either reassuring or terrifying. I couldn't decide which. What about your family, besides your grandmother? Marco's expression closed off. My father is dead. My mother lives in Milan. She won't be at the dinner. I have a younger sister, Isabella. She'll be suspicious of you. Why? Because she's suspicious of everyone, especially anyone close to me. What does your family do, really? Marco looked at me for a long moment. They're in business. Construction, shipping, hospitality. The legitimate face of old money that wasn't always legitimately acquired. His honesty surprised me. Are you in the Mafia? The question burst out before I could stop it. Marco's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. That's a word that means different things to different people. But if you're asking if my family has connections to organized crime, the answer is yes, though I've spent the last decade distancing myself from that world. And you expect me to just be okay with this? I expect you to keep up your end of our agreement, which doesn't include moral judgments about my family history. I should go to the police. You could, but you won't. She was right, and we both knew it. I had already taken the money, already agreed. I've never broken the law. Everything I do is legal. Can I say the same about my uncles, my cousins, various distant relatives? No, but that's not my responsibility. You're asking me to lie to your dying grandmother while wearing a tracking device around my neck. Forgive me if I'm not entirely reassured by your moral flexibility. Something flickered in his eyes. Respect, maybe. You're not what I expected, Sarah Mitchell. What did you expect? Someone more easily intimidated. Someone who'd ask fewer questions. Then you chose wrong. No, I chose exactly right. The way he looked at me made my heart race for reasons that had nothing to do with fear. A call button chimed, breaking the tension. I should get back to work. Of course. We'll continue this later. After meal service, meet me in seat 2A, bring coffee. We'll practice being married. Practice being a man who was equal parts dangerous and magnetic. What did I get myself into? The rest of the meal service passed in a blur. I moved through the cabin on autopilot, pouring drinks and serving meals while my mind spun with everything Marco had told me. The ring on my finger caught the light every time I moved. Heavy. Constant. A reminder that for the next week, I wasn't Sarah Mitchell, struggling flight attendant. I was Sarah Valentino, wife of a man with shadows in his past and danger in his present. When the cabin finally dimmed for the overnight portion of the flight, most passengers settled into sleep or movies. I found Marco in seat 2A as instructed, 2 coffees in my hands. Sit. He gestured to the empty seat beside him. First-class seats that faced each other, creating a private pod. I glanced around. The nearest passenger was 3 rows back, noise-canceling headphones on. I shouldn't. You're my wife, remember? It would be strange if you didn't sit with me. He had a point. I sank into the leather seat, hyper-aware of how close we were in the confined space. Give me your hand. What? Your left hand, the one with the rings. Hesitantly, I extended my hand. He took it in his skin warm against mine. He studied the rings on my finger, adjusting the engagement ring slightly. When we're with my family, I'll touch you like this often. Casual contact. Possessive. Possessive? Italian families are traditional. Men are expected to be demonstrative with their wives, protective, territorial. His thumb traced circles on my palm, and I couldn't tell if it was part of the lesson or something else. I need you to be comfortable with my touch. If you flinch every time I take your hand, my grandmother will know something's wrong. I won't flinch. Prove it. Before I could ask what he meant, Marco reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. The gesture was tender, intimate. I forced myself to stay still, to not lean away from his touch. Better, he murmured, but you're still too stiff. When a man touches his wife, she leans into it, welcomes it. Maybe your wife does. Not all women. For the next week, you are my wife. And my wife adores me. The arrogance should have been infuriating. Instead, it was oddly compelling. Fine. How should I react? Marco's hand moved to cut my face, his thumb brushing my cheekbone. My breath caught. This close, I could see flecks of gold in his dark eyes, could smell his cologne, could feel the heat radiating from his body. Don't think, just feel. His hand slid to the back of my neck, fingers tangling gently in my hair. The touch sent electricity racing down my spine. My eyes fluttered closed before I could stop them. Yes, like that. His voice was rougher now, satisfied. 16:15. When I opened my eyes, Marco was staring at me with an intensity that made my stomach flip. You're a fast learner. It's called acting. Is it? The question hung between us, charged with something I didn't want to name. He released me, and I felt the loss of his touch like cold water. Tell me about yourself, the real you, not the file I have. Why does it matter? Because my grandmother will ask questions. She'll want to know what I love about you. I need answers that sound genuine. I wrapped my hands around my coffee cup, needing something to do with them now that Marco wasn't touching me. What do you want to know? Everything. Start with why you became a flight attendant. I wanted to see the world, travel. I was 23, fresh out of college with a journalism degree I had no idea how to use. I thought being a flight attendant would be an adventure. And was it? For a while, then it became a job. Then it became the only thing keeping me afloat after my divorce. Tell me about your ex-husband. Why? Because if my family asks, I need to know how you'll answer, and I need to know what broke you. The bluntness startled me. I'm not broken. No, but you're carrying wounds. I can see them. I looked away, out the window at the darkness beyond. Michael was charming at first, attentive. Then he lost his job, started gambling, borrowed money from the wrong people. By the time I realized how bad it was, we were drowning in debt. And you stayed? I loved him. Or I thought I did. I kept thinking if I just worked harder, earned more, I could fix it. You can't fix people, Seta. Only they can fix themselves. The certainty in his voice made me wonder who he'd tried to fix and failed. Michael left 2 years ago. Disappeared. I'm still paying off his debts. Not anymore. I looked at Marco sharply. What? The money I'm paying you, use it however you want. But if I were you, I'd clear that debt. Start fresh. That's easy for you to say. You clearly don't worry about money. No, but I worry about other things. Control, loyalty, keeping the people I care about safe. You're not one of the people you care about. I'm a business transaction. Something flashed in his eyes. Annoyance, maybe. For now, but in front of my family, you're everything to me. The woman I chose above all others. The one I'd die to protect. That's a lot of pressure. You can handle it. We talked for the next 3 hours. Marco asked 1,000 questions, filing away every detail about my life. My favorite food, Thai. My mother's name, Patricia. The scar on my right knee from falling off my bike at age 7. He told me things too. How his grandmother had raised him after his mother left. How he built his import business from nothing, determined to make legitimate money rather than follow his father's footsteps. How he loved Rome, but felt trapped by his family's expectations. Why haven't you actually gotten married? I asked. You're what, 55? Surely there's been someone. 58. And there was someone, once. His voice went flat, closed off. What happened? She died. 2 words loaded with pain Marco didn't show anywhere else on his face. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was a long time ago. But the way he said it told me it wasn't long enough. Is that why you haven't tried again? Because of her? I haven't tried because everyone in my world wants something. Power, money, access. No one wants just me. The loneliness in that statement broke my heart a little bit. Maybe you're looking in the wrong places. Maybe. Or maybe there are no right places for men like me. The lights in the cabin dimmed further, as passengers slept. In our private pod, it felt like we were the only 2 people in the world. You should get some rest, Marco said. We land in 6 hours. What about you? I don't sleep on planes. Never? Never. There was something sad about that. Always vigilant, always on guard. Will you wake me if you need anything? I always get what I need, Seta, one way or another. The words should have sounded threatening. Instead, they sounded like a promise. I stood reluctantly, my body protesting the movement. It had been a long shift, even before Marco Valentino walked into my life and turned everything upside down. Seta. I turned back. Thank you for agreeing to this. The genuine gratitude in his voice caught me off guard. You're paying me $50,000. You don't need to thank me. Nevertheless, I walked back to the crew rest area, but sleep didn't come easily. My mind kept replaying every conversation, every touch, every loaded look. In one night, I'd agreed to pretend to be married to a man I didn't know, a man with connections to the Mafia, a man who looked at me like he could see straight through every defense I'd built, a man who was starting to feel dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with his family's criminal ties. 22:15. The drive through Rome should have been beautiful. Ancient architecture, cobblestone streets, the Colosseum rising in the distance. But I couldn't focus on any of it. All I could think about was the weight of Marco's hand on my thigh, possessive and warm. "We're going to my home first. You can rest, shower, change. The family dinner is tonight at 8. Tonight? But I'm exhausted. I know, I'm sorry, but my grandmother's condition is deteriorating. We can't wait." The car pulled through a gate into a courtyard. I stepped out and stared up at a villa that looked like something from a magazine. 3 stories of honey-colored stone, ivy climbing the walls, a fountain burbling in the center of the courtyard. "You live here?" "My grandmother's home. She signed it over to me last year. I stay here when I'm in Rome." "It's a palace. And for the next week, it was mine too." Inside the villa was even more impressive. High ceilings, original frescoes, furniture that was probably worth more than my entire apartment building. "Your room is upstairs, second door on the right. I'm across the hall if you need anything." A woman appeared, middle-aged, kind face. "This is Maria. She manages the house. Anything you need, ask her." Maria smiled warmly and said something in Italian. Marco translated. "She says you're even more beautiful than I described." "You described me to your housekeeper?" "I described you to everyone. You're my wife, remember?" Maria led me upstairs to a bedroom that was bigger than my entire apartment. Cream walls, gauzy curtains, a bed that looked like a cloud. "Rest. I will wake you at 6 to get ready." The week had been a whirlwind. Meeting Lucia, the family dinner where 20 pairs of eyes judged me, Isabella's threats, the hospice visits where Lucia held our hands and blessed our fake marriage. And then Isabella's investigation, the emergency real wedding, the marriage certificate that made our lie legal. 42:15. Now Lucia was gone. The funeral was over, and I was packing my suitcase, ready to return to Chicago with my $100,000 and a marriage that needed to end. But Marco had other ideas. 24 o'clock. I should have argued, should have demanded more time, but exhaustion crashed over me like a wave. I fell asleep on top of the covers, still wearing my rumpled uniform, and dreamed of dark eyes and dangerous promises. 24:15. A knock woke me, soft but insistent. "Sarah, it's 6 o'clock. Marco's voice, muffled through the door. I sat up, disoriented. The room was bathed in golden afternoon light. For a moment, I couldn't remember where I was. Then it all came flooding back. The plane, the ring, the agreement. I'm awake. There are clothes in the closet. Choose something elegant but not too formal. Dinner is at my grandmother's favorite restaurant. I found the closet, a walk-in twice the size of my bedroom back home. Inside hung a dozen dresses, all in my size, all clearly expensive. Of course, Marco had prepared for this, too. The man thought of everything. I chose a navy dress with a modest neckline and 3/4 sleeves. Elegant, appropriate for meeting a dying grandmother. I showered, did my makeup carefully, and studied myself in the mirror. The woman staring back looked different, polished, put together, like she belonged in this world of villas and designer clothes, like she could be Mrs. Sarah Valentino. The thought sent a thrill through me that had no business being there. Marco was waiting at the bottom of the stairs, and the sight of him made my breath catch. He'd changed into dark slacks and a white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, casual but devastatingly handsome. His eyes traveled over me slowly, appraisingly. "Perfect. My grandmother will love you." Let's hope so. Otherwise, this is going to be a very awkward week. You'll be fine. Just follow my lead. In the car, Marco briefed me again on his family. His grandmother had 3 surviving children: Marco's Uncle Giovanni, Aunt Francesca, and Uncle Paolo. There would be cousins, nephews, various hanger-ons. They'll all be sizing you up, wondering if you're good enough for me. And am I good enough? Marco turned to look at me, his expression unreadable. You're here, aren't you? That makes you good enough. The restaurant was tucked away on a quiet street, the kind of place only locals knew about. Inside, a private room had been reserved, a long table set for 20 people. 20 people, all here to judge the wife Marco Valentino had supposedly married in secret. No pressure. Remember, Marco murmured, his hand finding the small of my back. You love me. You chose me, and nothing anyone says can shake that. Easy for you to say. You're not the one being scrutinized. Aren't I? My family has been trying to control my life for decades. Every choice I make is analyzed, criticized. This, you, is the first thing I've chosen that's entirely mine. The words were part of the act. They had to be. So why did they make my heart race? The door opened and we walked in together. 20 faces turned toward us. The room fell silent. An old woman sat at the head of the table. Small, fragile, but with eyes sharp as a hawk's, despite her 93 years. Lucia Valentino. She looked at me for a long moment, her expression giving nothing away. Then she smiled, and her entire face transformed. Finalmente, Marco, you brought her. Marco glided me forward, his hand never leaving my back. Nona, this is Sarah, my wife. I'd prepared for this moment, rehearsed it, but standing in front of this tiny woman who clearly meant everything to Marco, all my preparation vanished. It's an honor to meet you, Mrs. Valentino. Lucia laughed, a sound like wind chimes. Mrs. Valentino, so formal. You are family now, Gara. You call me Nona, like Marco does. She reached for my hand, and I gave it to her. Her grip was surprisingly strong for someone so frail. Let me see the ring. I held up my left hand, the diamond catching the light. Bellissimo. My Marco has good taste. But I want to see your faces. Come closer, both of you. Marco moved beside me, and Lucia studied us with those sharp eyes. Looking for what? The truth we were hiding? Yes, she said finally, nodding. I see it. The way you stand together, the way he looks at you when you're not watching. This is real. Except it wasn't. It was an elaborate lie. But when Marco's arm slid around my waist, pulling me against his side, it felt real. Dangerously real. Come sit. Everyone is waiting to meet the woman who finally captured my grandson's heart. The dinner was a test. Every question, every comment, every watching eye designed to catch us in a lie. Marco's Uncle Giovanni asked how we met. On a private flight, Marco answered smoothly. Sarah was working. I couldn't take my eyes off her. Love at first sight? Giovanni's tone was skeptical. For me, yes. Marco said, looking at me with such warmth that I almost believed him. Sarah took longer to convince. I was working, I added, finding my voice. I had rules about passengers, but Marco was persistent. Persistent? Aunt Francesca smiled. That sounds like our Marco. A younger woman, Isabella, Marco's sister, watched me with open suspicion. 2 years of marriage and we're only meeting you now? That seems strange, Marco. Sarah values her privacy, as do I. Private or secret? Isabella pressed. There's a difference. Enough. Lucia's voice cut through the tension. Isabella, Do not interrogate your brother's wife. Marco has brought her to us. That is what matters. But Isabella's eyes never left me, calculating. She knew something was off. The meal continued, course after course of Italian cuisine that tasted like heaven. Marco kept his hand on my thigh under the table, a constant presence. His thumb traced small circles, and I couldn't tell if it was for show or something else. Sarah, Lucia called from the head of the table, tell me about your family, your parents. My mother lives in Chicago. My father passed away when I was young. Ah, I'm sorry, Gata. So you understand loss? Yes. Then you understand why family is so important. Why I needed to know Marco had someone before I... She trailed off, but everyone at the table understood what she meant. Before I die. He does, I said, the words coming easier than they should. Marco has me, and I'm not going anywhere. Lucia's eyes filmed with tears. Good, that is good. After dinner, as everyone stood and mingled, Isabella cornered me in the hallway outside the restroom.